City cars are brilliant. They're tiny on the outside and massive on the inside. They come in funky colours with silly names, and best of all, they're super cheap. But the Hyundai i10 has always been a bit of an outlier. It's done away with bold colours and crazy designs, instead favouring a solid equipment list at a very reasonable price. This thing though, the new i10, is a little bit different because Hyundai is trying to become a little bit more premium, a bit more sophisticated. So, is the new i10 still the bargain city car of choice? Well, today we're going to find out. But before I get into the review, remember to hit the like button and subscribe for more awesome videos just like this one. So this is the N-Line version, and it comes with a different front end to the regular i10. So you get a more aggressive look that kind of spreads out a little bit further over this side, and then you've got these integrated LED lights. Now, if you go for the standard i10, these LEDs are still there, but they come as little circular dots that kind of plonked on the front and they don't look nearly as nice. You also get these red scratch marks that look like a tiger has tried to rip its face off. Moving further back, you get these lovely alloy wheels. These are properly sporty on a cheap car. I think they look great. You get an N-Line badge and this Hyundai N colour, which is just stunning. Even in a miserable day like it is today, this looks really lovely. Even at the back, we've got more i10 logos because they just don't want you to forget that you've bought a Hyundai i10. So we've got i10 up here, and it even says i10 here inside the rear lights. And at the back, just like you get on a Hyundai i30N and with the upcoming i20N, you get a little red lip at the bottom because it's sporty, and beneath that is a diffuser, which is hilarious because this really can't go fast enough to use the diffuser at all. But it's there and it looks kind of cool, unless you know aerodynamics. And to top it all off, you've got these two very sporty exhausts, which are real. The i10 may be a teeny tiny car, but Hyundai has managed to squeeze in a pretty decent boot. You've got 252 litres back here, which is on par with the VW Up and the Kia Picanto. However, there is quite a high load lip, so it's easy to get stuff in, but getting stuff out might be a bit of a challenge, and you can't adjust the height of the floor. What's more, if boot space is really your priority, I would probably suggest going for the Dacia Sandero. If you go into our Hyundai dealership today and pick up a brand new i10, you'll have two different engine options to choose from. And the range kicks off with a 1 litre 3-cylinder petrol engine producing 66 brake horsepower, and you can get that in either manual or automatic form. Then above that is a 1.2 litre petrol engine producing 83 bhp, and again it's available in either manual or automatic form. Now the one that we've got in here is a 1 litre 3-cylinder petrol engine producing a whopping 99 brake horsepower, and you only get it in the N-Line version. It may have the most powerful engine in the range, but the N-Line is also the most expensive at £16,200. Now that might sound quite pricey, but it still undercuts the cheapest i20 by about £2,000. But if it's a budget car you're after, then the SE is the one to go for. It's the cheapest in the range and prices start at £12,800. However, if you pay £1,000 more for the SE Connect, you get a big kit upgrade, which is highlighted by a touchscreen infotainment system. That being said, the i10 is still a bit pricey compared to its rivals. The Kia Picanto undercuts the cheapest i10 by around £2,000, and if it's a sports car you're after, you can get an Up GTI for a few £100 more than this N-Line. Hyundai interiors tend to be pretty damn drab, and the old i10 was no exception. But this new model is a big improvement. It's like they've put some design into this, and while some of the plastics are a little bit cheap, especially around here on the centre console, it's a cheap car. This really does feel like a huge improvement. And if you go for the N-Line, you get sporty touches like this leather-wrapped wheel with red stitching and also a little N badge at the bottom. But the thing I love the most is this gear knob, because it's been taken straight out of the i30N. I'm sure it'll probably come on the upcoming i20N as well, and just feels perfect to hold. Now, all models except the entry-level SE come with this touchscreen infotainment system that's also hooked up to a reversing camera. And it's a really great system to use. And while it's not the most responsive infotainment system I've come across, it's very, very intuitive to use and really simply laid out. In fact, I actually prefer it to the latest iteration of Hyundai's infotainment tech that we reviewed on the Tucson very recently. No matter which model you go for, you'll always get analog dials, and that's not the end of the world, because not only do they look really nice and very punchy, but you've also got a small digital readout in the center, so you can see a more precise readout of your speed, and you can also change things like the semi-autonomous driver safety systems as well. Now, the i10 isn't a massive car, so we've not got lots of storage, but we've got a few options to go through. So it all kicks off with these two cup holders down here, which aren't massive, but they can fit two pretty decent sized bottles. We've also got a triangular storage tray for some change, I guess. We've also got two little trays around the handbrake. A great place to put your house keys. A bit further up, we've got somewhere to keep your smartphone, and if you go for the tech pack, that is where the wireless charger is. Over here, we've got a small little tray for the passenger, and they can put whatever they want in there. Maybe a phone or whatever. And last but not least, we've got a nice decent storage bin in the door, which will take a pretty hefty bottle. The back of this i10 is seriously impressive because it's a tiny car and I'm not a tiny person. At 180 centimeters, I'm averagely sized, and I've got plenty of headroom still to go, and the driver's seat's in my position and legroom is just perfect. I really couldn't ask for more. In fact, it feels more spacious in here than it did in the back of the bigger Ford Fiesta. There's nothing particularly remarkable back here though. I've not got an armrest, I've not got a centre console with charging ports in it. I've just got a nice big cup holder in the door bin. But hey, it's a cheap car and this is a very spacious place to be. The thing is with N-Line or S-Line or R-Line cars is they're not actually that much faster than the base models. They just take inspiration from the car makers' performance cars. So this i10 N-Line is partly inspired by the likes of the Hyundai i30N and the upcoming i20N. But there is no proper N version of the i10. It's just a small little city car, and Hyundai hasn't given it the motorsport treatment yet. So this N-Line version is kind of the closest you'll get to a hot i10. And you know what? It's a lot of fun to drive. I've got 99 brake horsepower, which I can manage with this really wonderful 5-speed gearbox. This isn't just a decent shift for a city car, it's actually a really good manual box. Doesn't feel that far off something like a GR Yaris, which is saying something. Speaking of the GR Yaris, it even kind of sounds like it, which is probably a bit of an insult to the Toyota because it's not the best sound in the world. But this 3-cylinder motor really does have a fair bit of punch. It feels nippy. It doesn't feel like it's got just enough power to get you around town and out of a T-junction quickly. It's enough for you to go onto a B road and actually go and enjoy yourself. One small gripe that I have is the clutch bite is a little bit high, so I found it's taken quite a bit of getting used to. And I'm sure if you buy one of these after a week, you'll be perfectly fine with it, but it is quite high, and you'll probably see in some of the footage I might be jolting backwards and forwards a bit because it's just much higher than I've experienced in other cars. Another thing is the ride is a tad on the firm side. Now, it's not intrusive. I don't feel like it hurts my back when I go over a bump, and if anything, I quite like it because I prefer a slightly sportier car. But I would say that if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, it might be worth considering when test driving an i10. Now, I touched on this earlier, but it really is worth skipping the entry-level car and going for the one above that, the SE Connect, because it does come with this infotainment system, and it's actually a really good system to use. I really like this previous generation version of Hyundai's software, because it's really simple to read, if a little dull. But it also comes with physical shortcuts, which are just so much better to use when driving than the touch systems that you get on so many cars now. I'm not just rubbing my hand against the dashboard. We've also got cruise control in here and lane keep assistance as well. So if you stray over the white lines, you'll be told to get back in your lane. You're probably thinking at this moment, wow, he really likes this new Hyundai i10. And you'd be right. I'd say the only thing that really holds this back is that it is a bit more on the expensive side. So again, this is £16,000, and if you wanted something that was more of a performance-focused city car, then the Up GTI is probably the car to go for, and it's only a teeny tiny bit more expensive. And if you're after a properly cheap car, then you're looking more towards the likes of a Dacia Sandero or the Kia Picanto. But as a package, I think this i10 really shows Hyundai's strength. Yes, it's a cheap car, but you get so much equipment for your money. And while it's a bit more expensive than some of its key rivals, you do have a real step up in terms of interior quality and kit compared to the old car. And I kind of feel like that justifies the slightly higher price tag. Hyundai has always been about value for money, and that has sometimes come at the expense of the interior quality or even the ride quality. So is the i10 more premium than before? It's certainly more grown up, and the important thing is, it's a hell of a lot of fun to drive.